We're back. It's Wednesday. We are live on Red Tinted Glasses YouTube channel. Welcome along to another live reaction to a midweek game featuring Aberdeen and Callum. It's yet more Paisley pain for the men in red last night.
Oh, it was rubbish, wasn't it? Really, really bad. I mean, I'm glad you prepared some notes for this because other than, how bad we were, really not much to talk about.
I mean, I like how you said I prepared notes. The way the first half developed, I wasn't really sure we were going to have anything to speak about. But boy, did that second half ensure that we did have quite a lot to speak about, as the game didn't pan out in the way we expected. It's four straight games now at Paisley without a win for Aberdeen. Quite concerning. Stephen Glass last night coming out after the game, calling it a blip. Is it? Is it a blip?
Um, no, not really, because we see these things happen so frequently. I said last time I was watching the game, it's so annoying because we have a few good performances. Everything feels positive. We felt positive, with the signing of our man Vicente. I'm not going to attempt to say the second name. I still need to learn it. But there's always seems to be these games which then just sort of derail things slightly,
Hmm.
and just frankly upset me.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the first half of this episode will be pretty depressing as we look back on the Dons' defeat last night. But throughout the episode, we will then go on to look at the transfer news as Vicente Bizauen joined Aberdeen from ADO Den Haag. We are joined through WhatsApp voice notes, so bear with us. It might not sound the cleanest on this live by Jim van der Dijl, the Dutch sport commentator who follows Den Haag. He gave us our thoughts on the signing of Bizauen. And we look back, obviously, with Niall McGinn leaving the club to join Dundee. We'll share some of our memories of the Northern Irishman's time at Aberdeen before looking ahead. I'm going to say hopefully to the weekend's game, but after last night, it's a bit of trepidation ahead of facing the Perth Saints. But Callum, it's yet more away day misery for the Dons. Two away wins in the league all season. We got a helping hand in those games, but there was no helping hand last night as yet another defeat. And it's just two goals in our last five away games from home. As I said there, Stephen Glass is calling this a blip. I just can't see it as a blip when you look at the bigger picture of that away form. It's really bad.
There is basically very little else to add to that, isn't it? I don't know what it is about us going away from home, but we just can't seem to do it. We're not even in the games we've won. Some of the performances have been, we've been very lucky to get those wins, and it was just so poor. We thought, if we come out the same way we did against St Mirren at Pataudry, then hopefully we can start off strong, blow them away. But we didn't get going at all throughout the 90 minutes, let alone straight off the bat. It was just so slow, the build up play. I mean, St Mirren were very much in control, definitely for the first half of this first half, if that makes sense.
Mm.
It was just awful. And I got to look to bounce back now, but just another setback away from home. It's just not ideal. Some very, very poor results on the road.
Yeah, and as always during these live shows, we appreciate those of you that get involved and leave comments wherever you're watching, whether it be through Facebook, YouTube, or indeed our Twitter account at RTG underscore podcasting. And Paul Reiki, one of our subscribers on YouTube, even got involved as soon as the full time whistle hit last night, dropping this comment saying, "We were never really at the game today. Poor all round play." And Callum, that was really the feeling in that first half. The rest of the Scottish Premiership card takes place this evening, and you might as well thought the Aberdeen players had that mind that the game was tomorrow because we just never kind of entertained any sort of real consistency in that first 45 minutes, especially.
It was really, really poor. The build up was super slow. There was sort of no sense of urgency, and even when we were on the ball, sort of in their half, just nothing happening. The movement was really bad. Just massive concerns. Do you think maybe um, First of all, I don't know why our game was tonight. That just seems odd. Last night, sorry. I don't know when all the other games are tonight. That seems bizarre. But do you think maybe there was some sort of fatigue after the same sort of similar side playing against Rangers and then Edinburgh City and then going straight into this game as well? Do you think we maybe suffered from that?
Yeah, I absolutely do. And we were kind of debating on our last episode. Did we get were 5 subs allowed in the Scottish Cup? They were allowed.
Brilliant.
5 subs were also allowed last night, Stephen. If you want to use a squad, I know we're maybe not blessed with other options. Obviously, Connor Barron, Jack Milne, Declan Gallagher, and Dylan McGee were the players not to get off the bench last night. But the games we're going to come into it. It felt in the second half use some of that energy that maybe the likes of Connor Barron and young Jack Milne could possess. If they're good enough to be on the bench, then surely you're going to trust them to enter the field of play at some point if allows. We were kind of speaking on the Twitter account last night about scapegoats, and I'm hesitant to make Jet a scapegoat as such. But when you're 1-0 down and looking to chase a game, he isn't exactly the player that screams who you want to bring on to get that goal. But just back on the comments from Stephen Glass about it being a blip, do you think actually, Callum, he means it was more of a blip in the performance levels? Because against Edinburgh City we were largely in control. We were very good for most of the game against Rangers last week in that 1-1 draw. But I think you're right. Maybe we did, in a weird sort of way, have that fatigue almost catch up with us. But St Mirren were the exact same. They had the game against Dundee United, they had Ayr United away from home. I may add, we've both away games. We've been at home in the first 2 games coming back from that winter break. But both of them, they've also had physical games. We've got no real excuse. We've not like we had to travel after the 2 games we've played.
Yeah, that's very true. I think maybe, you're right. He might reference sort of blip in performance in terms of some of the other poor results we've had. We've sometimes had some decent performances, and particularly looking at the 2 Motherwell games that we've lost in. But yeah, we just were not at the races at all, and it really was a downturn in performance. When you look at, we've raised our game, probably you could say, against Rangers, putting a great performance, unlucky not to come away with more than just the 1 point. Edinburgh City, okay, not the highest quality of opposition, but we did a professional job, just sort of suffocated them throughout. And then to come out with that when it's similar players, should be a similar style, and it was just, we were just not at the races whatsoever. And then and going back to your previous point about the substitutions, regardless of whether they think maybe Connor Barron, Jack Milne, whoever isn't quite ready, I mean, when the players out there creating sweet Fanny Adams and we're already losing, what's the harm in getting them in there?
Yeah.
Maybe they can be that creative spark, that energy that we need to sort of make something happen.
Yeah.
Just really, really frustrating.
Yeah, really frustrating. I don't know if Dave Cormack's happy with the data of last night's performance. We'll also dive into that as well. But if it is a blip in performance, it's our monthly blip, because we seem to have it every time we look to kind of be leaving that odd bad performance behind. You touched on Motherwell, that one sticks out on the back of when it was finally hit that upturn in fortune after the results against the Edinburgh 2, and again Rangers involved there as well. We then inexplicably didn't turn up in a second half against Motherwell and go down 2-0. Last month you could argue as well that performance against Hibs, we were flying going into that game, maybe struggling off of the 11-day break going into that as well. Last night watching that was probably up there with some of the stuff we had to endure last season as well. And it was just from, the dugout and the pitch, just incredibly bad. And almost felt last night in the sense as well that there was no plan B to try and affect the outcome of the game. And, at half-time I was thinking, if we could come away here with a smash and grab 1-0, if it comes in off Ramirez's backside, I'll absolutely take that at this point. But we didn't even have a shot on target, Callum.
So you say there's no plan B. What was plan A? That's what I'd like to know, because we just created so little, and sometimes a lack of willingness to just sort of take on a man, just side to side passing, going backwards as well. Try and take a chance. Try and clip the ball in behind. See what happens. I mean, we put in that performance against Rangers. St Mirren aren't Rangers. Full credit, they deserve the win,
Hmm.
absolutely. But, try and make things happen. We do have players in there that can do it. Calvin Ramsey being linked with these £1 million moves away, and can't be Mirren full back. I mean, it's not great, is it? It doesn't bode well.
No, it doesn't. And the thing is, as well, we beat this side 4-1. We beat them comfortably last month when we actually got the ball on the deck, drove at their defenders, and caused them all ends of problems. Yes, as we said in the preview for the game last night, Mirren also caused us problems, but we were blowing them away when we actually ran at them. And at times last night as well, when we actually did decide not to have David Bates pinging long balls up aimlessly at times to Christian Ramirez, when we got the ball on the deck, we were stretching St Mirren's defence. But every time we got to the edge of the box, we thought, shit, we haven't done enough passes. Let's play it back to the halfway line and start again. There just didn't seem to be anyone finding that bit of space, or just having that bit of bravery to take the shot on. It was almost like we were trying to score that perfect goal at times.
Yeah, which is interesting when the chances weren't even coming. So it wasn't even like there was any justification for doing this. It wasn't like we were having some nice play, missing the chances. I mean, Anik had very little to do. I think, maybe sort of cross that Calvin Ramsey had that he sort of had to deal with. And
Yeah.
then there was a blocked attempt from Brown, which I don't even think ended up, it looks like, didn't think it was going on target regardless.
Yeah.
Other than that, that's just sort of the two standout attempts. Ramirez attempting one from a corner with a cutback kind of thing. It was just so poor, and just really frustrating. I think it once again highlights the need for further options to sort of change things, to make things happen in a different manner, whether it's a more mobile forward than perhaps we have, someone who will just sort of run the channels even more, got that pace to get in behind,
Yeah,
slightly
a bit
more than
like kind of
Christian
what I suppose.
Ramirez.
Yeah, I
Mm,
suppose a bit like kind of what Marley Watkins has been offering. He does the
mm,
kind of hard work, and Ramirez is there to sweep the ball into the back of the
yeah.
net. But on that point you were making, I was speaking to someone at my work, and before the game yesterday, admittedly, and saying, "Oh, it's great to see, kind of we got that positive performance and the excitement he was kind of had generated off of the Rangers game." And says, "Oh, look, we've now progressed in the cup as well. On the back of that, I've got my ticket for St Johnstone on Saturday. My son's really enjoying going to the Red Shed as well, so I'm buzzing off of him being buzzing." And then I spoke to him this morning. He went, "Well, that's the enthusiasm pretty much wiped, but I'm still going to go on Saturday." But this is the problem with Aberdeen just now. Anytime we build up any sort of level of enthusiasm amongst the support, or anytime we think we're maybe turning a corner, if you want to be as cynical as that, they know how to knock us straight back to square one.
They do. I sort of shared similar thoughts regarding my decision to go to Livingston away. Just thinking, oh god, it's going to be horrendous. But yeah, it's just not great at all. They do really have a special way of sapping that enthusiasm, as we mentioned. It's a few good results. We've turned a corner. Everything's fantastic. We're going to make a push for the European spots now. And then boom, terrible result against a team who should be doing better. Look at, Motherwell, 2 results against them, Dundee away, Dundee United away. I'm sure there's more that I'm just not thinking of.
St Johnstone at home even as well.
Well, yeah, very true. And then look at the wins we did have. Livingston, thankfully, Strychek forgot his hands that day. Thankfully, Teddy Jenks remembered his hands the day against St Johnstone. More of that might be required this coming weekend. It's just, oh, we knew it would be a roller coaster, but I'm getting a bit tired, and it's just frustrating.
The thing is, it's draining, but we'll be there on Saturday, ready to do it all
Yep.
over again, regardless. And as you said, you're booked up to go to Livingston a week on Saturday. I'm doing Dingwall on Tuesday. it's interesting. It's funny, despite how poor we are away from home, folk are still keen to go and travel. It's what we do for the team, regardless. Results don't matter. We're there to support the team. Now, it's great to have so many of you involved during this live. There are comments coming in all the time. We will get to some of them as we progress through the show, a little bit further on. As always, though, on Red Tinted Glasses, we do look at the team news. Callum, how much do you think we missed Johnny Hayes last night?
More than I thought, certainly. Nothing against Dean Campbell. He's not a left back. Never in his puff is he a left back. And, he's put in there, and I think it sort of just unbalances things slightly in terms of usually if Hayes is there, he'll absolutely bomb forward. And, sometimes the end product can be questionable, but he'll run up and down that left-hand side all 90 minutes because that's what he's done his whole career. That's what he always does. Dean Campbell used to being in the middle of the park, maybe breaking up playing there or trying to make things happen.
Yeah.
And just not a left back. And unfortunately, that was the option we had to turn to. So if it's not him, then you've got to throw in inexperienced Jack Milne, who's had a loan spell, but still very young, still very raw, and no experience in the top flight. It's just, that's the one change that and it was forced upon us. It was just frustrating. That the sort of imbalance was there, but I guess not much that really could be done other than that.
And I suppose this kind of goes back. We're going to come on to the transfer window later on, but we need an out-and-out left back. We've shoehorned Dean Campbell in there at times. Johnny Hayes, maybe now that his pace is slightly dipping, is more suited to left back, but again, not an out-and-out left back. This has kind of been, I know he kind of maybe splits opinions during some games as well. Again, I was having this debate as well. Andy Considine, not an out-and-out left back for me. Again, maybe someone that will struggle with his pace when he comes back from that injury. Who knows? And yes, Jack McKenzie's maybe been unlucky with injuries this season, but as we've seen, once he picks up that injury, we're struggling. And it's not like this is a new problem for Aberdeen. A lack of left back has been a problem that seems to have been on the go for years now.
Yeah, certainly, but it wouldn't be Aberdeen Football Club without that problem, I feel. Sorry, if we end up with Andy Considine left back at any stage, that is a massive concern at the age of 34, having just been out for 6 months.
That's the way things might be shaping up. But another comment that was picked up on last night was there the need for Brown, Ferguson and Ojo Jenks as well seemed to be playing a bit deeper than usual to me last night. Anyway, was there a need for that much midfielders? We kind of almost just stagnated the midfield and struggled to have any creativity through to help Christian Ramirez last night.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, in a game against Rangers, it's probably useful to have those bodies in there. Against Edinburgh City, Ojo was given the license to sort of bomb forward, but against Edinburgh City, that's probably easier. Given it, I don't know what his natural game is, but I still love him regardless. But it's frustrating. I saw someone mention that we've not really had that sort of midfielder that will take the ball on the turn and just immediately go since Ryan Christie, since his loan spell. I mean, I think that does sort of highlight almost a sort of link player between, as well as the need probably for a striker, but also the link player between the midfield and the forwards. Because as much as Lewis Ferguson, it can get up in support, he's still sort of a more natural box-to-box player rather than a number 10. So, hopefully Vicente is able to play on Saturday. That's what all my hopes ride on. And Dante Polvara, somehow get him involved no matter what's happening right now. Who knows what's going on with him? Get him involved.
We just need a bit of creativity, a bit of spark. I'm not sure what was up with Ryan Hedges last night. He did look okay in spells, but whether or not his mind was elsewhere, I'm not really sure. To be honest, you could probably argue that with Calvin Ramsey as well, which we'll come on to. But Christian Ramirez, again, he does a lot of work off the ball, but last night it was probably the first time I felt really frustrated by him. His hold-up play in particular in the first half was really poor. He was looking to offload the ball when there was nobody about either. I just every time the ball was getting to that final third, our play broke down badly, and it just didn't improve at all in the second half. The only thing that I can note of in the second half, there's people that's going to be critical of Dean Campbell for his maybe defensive side performance, but he was the only person that put a decent ball into the box in the second half. It was the only ball that actually caused St Mirren any sort of problem. And then that Scott Brown chance, which I think I do agree with you, I don't even think it was going in, but it was the closest we came to scoring last night.
Yeah, I mean, we'll take it. But no, I can't think of much more than that at all either, which is a major, major, major concern against, well, anyone in the league, really, let alone, a bottom six side, who obviously have caused us problems, seem to be on the up. But it is just very, very annoying. It highlights, when I keep going back to it, just highlights the need for more bodies to be in there, more options.
Yeah.
And then when you've got, no slight on Matty Kennedy come off the bench, but that's his first appearance of the season, isn't it? And he's coming on, the man you're throwing in and going, do it, change the game, make something happen for us. I mean, you're asking a lot of the poor boy.
I almost felt that we were bringing Matty Kennedy on just to prove that he was still in the squad. Maybe just say to anybody interested in buying him, look, he is fit enough, he can play minutes. But again, I really don't understand. I don't understand that substitution as well. We'll come on to them in a bit, but ironic after the Don's Twitter account tweeted that Aberdeen were showing positive signs of growing into the game, that 4 minutes later we found ourselves going 1-0 down. Connor Ronan, the man who terrorised us on our last trip to Paisley, caused our downfall again. Take nothing away from the finish, but defensively, it's probably similar to the goal against Rangers that we conceded. Question marks again down that right-hand side.
Yeah, that's another goal coming from that side. I mean, take nothing away from Connor Ronan. Probably the only one bit of quality in the game, and deserving of winning the match as well, because, I mean, we were bad. They weren't much better, but they had that in their locker and went on to win the game, and great finish. And probably you can't ask anything more of Joe Lewis, but it's the fact nobody getting out to him once again, and him getting that shot off and bending it past Joe Lewis.
Yeah, Calvin Ramsey, very lethargic getting out there. I don't know if once again it's the tiredness catching up with him, similar like it did in the Rangers game around the hour mark when his legs seemed to go. It's just so frustrating, because whether or not his head's turned, but it is a controversial opinion, but defensively we were a lot sounder during December when both him and McKenzie were out the team, and we come back in January and he's back in the team and we concede 2 goals down that side in the Premiership games. It is worrying, and I suppose when you see the bids of 3.5 million getting rumoured around and a performance like that comes in, it almost makes you want to jump in and take that money. I know it's maybe just one of those nights for young Calvin, though.
Certainly, and then also probably I think that's to be expected, I guess, at times, because first of all, obviously these rumours are probably bound to affect him in some way. To ask him to then deal with them when he's 18, I suppose, it's a tough ask for anyone, let alone someone so young. Also, when he's still developing, these kind of things happen. You develop more consistency with more experience when you're older. So there's got to be some sort of leeway on him for that. But then when these things happen, there should be an alternative there. Obviously, an alternative was Jack Gurr previously, who, despite his age, despite being older, also did not have any experience, and probably you could question his quality as well. But then now, I mean, Funso Ojo, right back, maybe McCrory if you bring in Gallagher, but then the defence, when we've got some sort of partnership in there now in the centre, that then gets ripped apart. We need a right back as well.
I think we need I think what, if anything, last night showed there are a lot of players maybe not up to the standard of Aberdeen.
Yep.
The point you made on the last episode when we were speaking about the contract negotiations around Funso Ojo, about what players will take us on to the next step, actually push Aberdeen on. And I think last night showed there's a lot of players still that need either improving, maybe they need more game time. The likes of Dean Campbell, a lot of loan spells being linked to them, which was coming up in the comments, where Bolton not after Dean Campbell. I believe Forest Green were as well. Probably Kilmarnock will inevitably get linked with him as well. But, I think Dean would benefit from regular minutes in midfield as well. He is a midfielder by trade and not in a position he is not used to. But yeah, last night was a strange one. He was probably the most nervous I've seen Dean look playing for Aberdeen. But, going 1-0 down, Callum, we hadn't been playing well at all up until that point anyway. And Stephen Glass brought on J. Manuel Thomas for Ryan Hedges. I don't know if he had a bit of a niggle or a knock, but that sub to me inspired absolutely no confidence.
No, none whatsoever. I mean, I don't know where to start with J. Manuel Thomas. He's obviously got there's quality there. He was on the books at Arsenal for a reason. He is the type of player who, will probably cause something to happen between now and the end of the season where we'll go, well, I wasn't expecting that, and it'll probably shut us all up. But when's that going to happen? I don't know. It's just it's frustrating when you're chasing a game, you're maybe wanting a high press. It's not what you wanted, but also it's interesting because when we saw in the early European games, when you thought, bloody hell, this guy's good, he was right up close, playing up there with Ramirez. And then yesterday, he's so deep getting the ball. And
he was chucked on the right wing though last night. I don't understand it. And I almost feel sorry for him, in fact, trying to watch him track these pacey wingers. And whether that's him going at full tilt or he just has no interest in the defensive side of game. But when you're 1-0 down, you're bringing on a striker. I don't understand why we're chucking him right wing, because it's not Jets. That's not his game. He's shown it plenty times this season. He almost has an unwillingness to track back. So if that's his style, switch it about, chuck him up top. We've seen before Christian Ramirez will put in a shift. Maybe that's something Stephen Glass has to go away and think of, and he's maybe scared to move Ramirez out wide. Look at the quality Ramirez delivered on Tuesday night against Rangers. So that's, if you chuck Jet on the end of that, well, I was going to say you'd like to think he finished maybe after the game at the weekend, maybe not, but give Jet something to work with. Right, you chuck him on the wing, he's just, it's really painful when you're losing and there's a player on the pitch that just doesn't look interested. As a fan, that becomes really hard to back continuously.
Are we talking about Ryan Hedges here or J. Manuel Thomas? Ooh.
That's a very controversial opinion, but still on Jet.
Well, the thing is also, I can't even be mad about him, coming deep to get the ball and try and make something ridiculous happen, because nothing else has happened throughout the rest of the game for us. No one else has created anything, so I can't even really begrudge him that, weirdly. Yeah. It's a weird catch 2022. No, catch 22. But I would like to see him, further up in support with Ramirez, because they had some good link-up play in those early games. You think about the BK Hacken game and things like that.
Yeah, and especially with Watkins out, you made the point in the last episode, we can't just keep Ramirez running until either he gets injured or suspended. We're gonna give ourselves loads of problems. And we spoke about the amount of midfielders we had. Teddy Jenks, for as well as he has been playing in recent weeks, it's probably one of his poorest games in recent weeks. Last night I felt it was a bit anonymous, but Connor McLennan coming on for his 100th appearance for the club didn't really change the game at all, Connor. But again, not that he had much time to do anything coming on with, I think it was about 15 minutes to go. No,
I mean, I think Teddy Jenks hates Paisley. That's the conclusion I've come to so far this season. It's regarding Connor McLennan, sorry. I feel like he's the type of player, when everything's going well, he'll be okay. When we saw him come on against St Johnstone, okay, it was for 10 minutes or whatever. He's taking the ball into the corner, taking players on, kind of trying to make things happen. He's got that confidence. But when you're trying to chase something, I don't know. It's just me not think. And sometimes we've questioned the link between his brain and his feet. Obviously, he didn't make much of an impact then, but that's the type of game that sort of suits him. When we are positive, when things already happen, when players around him are confident. But when you're then bringing him on to sort of rely on him to then make something magical happen for us in a game that nothing else has happened in, I just feel like it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and the concerning thing for me as well is the tactical awareness Stephen Glass showed in the early part of the season. His halftime changes, Tynecastle, European games. It's eluded him in recent weeks. I don't know what is going on, and especially now that we've got 5 subs at our disposal, he seems scared to make 5 changes. And the last change, again, Calvin Ramsey looks spent towards the last 10 minutes. He comes off for Matty Kennedy. I mean, I don't really know the other change who you'd have brought on. You obviously wanted to try and bring a bit of an attacking intent, but again, Connor Barron's played more minutes than Matty Kennedy this season. Even Jack Milne has as well. And Jack Milne, when I watched him, again, okay, it's Highland League level, but he was, he's 6'4". He's a bit of height there. Matty Kennedy's not exactly the tallest, but played in midfield and played kind of a more progressive role for Brecon, trying to link the play between midfield and strikers. You're already 1-0 down. The team's not really done anything. No one's going to get on your back if you chuck on a youngster for 10 minutes. At least give him something, see what he can do.
Yeah, 2 young lads who've, got a point to prove, and yet they left on the bench. And obviously, we saw Connor Barron come on with a lot of energy against Edinburgh City. Or if you bring on sort of Jack Milne, then you can maybe push Ferguson further forward to get him up in support and try and make something happen. But yeah, do you think he knows about the 5 substitution rule? I'm not convinced.
Yeah, and it's especially the energy when at times last night when we had the ball, I said it earlier, when we had the ball on the deck, passing it neatly and at pace and driving it to minute, they looked uncomfortable. But yeah, we were just too lethargic and just happy just to pump balls into the box for St Mirren to head away at times. And yeah, Callum, we spoke about this being an excellent opportunity to leapfrog Motherwell and Hibs above us if we were to get a win last night and sit in fourth and put the pressure on teams. But once again, Aberdeen leave the door open and we're making things hard for ourselves. We've done excellently to get ourselves into the top 6 after the start to the season we've had. And just when you give yourself an opportunity to put a bit of pressure onto the likes of Hibs and Motherwell, because, one of my friends, he plays for Fraserburgh, he says, they're enjoying the fact that teams behind them have got to catch up, because it puts more pressure mentally on teams when they know they have to go and do something to catch you. Aberdeen think, that's okay, we'll do the hard work ourselves, and as soon as we get there, we'll just make your life easy again. It is so frustrating.
Yeah, so I think that's probably been word of the season so far. Frustrating. I've got to pick ourselves up and dust ourselves off going into that St Johnstone game. They're obviously in a sticky spot themselves. Slightly more worrying, I suppose their fans will be rather than ours. But at the same time, going into the game, I don't have confidence that we will bounce back, because often we see us have a few good performances and then there's sometimes a few bad ones before we get ourselves going again.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Roll on, Vicente Basawin.
Well, you're getting there. There. But before we come on to that, there's still a couple of things to kind of touch on. As always, it's great that many of you are dropping in the comments or even giving us a message on Twitter at @RTG_podcast, as Ross Graham did. And we've kind of covered a couple of points that Ross raised in our messages, Callum. And one of the other points was kind of, we were on the data trail, to use Dave Cormack's phrase that he seems to love this season. And the data actually makes for pretty grim reading from an Aberdeen point of view last night. 11 shots, none on target. against St Mirren's 4 with just the one shot on target. And once again, Aberdeen, peppering the goal more than the opposition. But as there was a comment that I saw here earlier from Can't Be Bothered. It's quality, not quantity. And I suppose in the final third, we've shown it again. There was a very lack of quality from Aberdeen. St Mirren had that one moment of quality and ultimately earned them the 3 points.
If someone asked me to pinpoint the 11 shots, I could maybe do about 5 at most. Just so not memorable at all. Very forgettable, I feel like, that game as a whole. But yeah, none of those chances really of actual quality. And then St Mirren get one, really, and take it. Very, very frustrating, but it's sort of story of the season so far. How many games can we say this exact thing about, really?
Yeah, and exactly. And it goes down to the point I made earlier about Conor Ronan had just a bit of belief about himself and thought, I've got nothing to lose here. Whereas almost there was a time, I think, in the second half where Funso Ojo cut in from a similar position. And instead of, maybe trying to curl one into the top or bottom corner, he went for a pass and the move broke down. He was inside the box. It's that memorable. I can see you trying to rack your brain, trying to remember when that occurred. But it was all too often that instead of maybe having that pop shot that would test the keeper might spill it and it falls out. We were just trying to work it to Ramirez, work it wide and get the ball into the box. It was just, we came quite predictable, I felt, as the game went on. And, I think that looks as, 68% possession with, triple the amount of passes that St Mirren made at 608 compared to 277. It's all well and good keeping the ball, Callum. If you can't put it in the net, it means fuck all at the end of the day.
Yeah, quite literally. We've ended up with 0 points. St Mirren ended up with 3. For example, with that Ojo chance, we're sort of working for waiting for the perfect opportunity, it seems like. Whereas there, okay, if he just hits the target, as you say, maybe forces Anik to make a save, he might get a corner out of it. All of a sudden, you get another chance for that, or he might palm it out to Ramirez, or even if he saves it comfortably, that's just something that sort of goes, right, okay, that's one shot. It sort of lifts them a little bit. Maybe gets the fans going, him taking that on with the confidence. But alas, no, we'll wait for the perfect opportunity, which never came, ultimately.
Yeah, and kind of the point that Ross wanted us to discuss on the back of that data was, is the style that Stephen Glass kind of implementing, is it actually working? Because he kind of gets the feeling it's not really being effective against the lesser sides. And, based on last night, you kind of have to agree with that kind of thought. And I suppose it kind of, again, goes back to something we mentioned in the last episode, that everyone's beating everybody and we're kind of almost being fortunate to get away with how poor we've been in games because the league's so tight.
Sorry, I thought I was going to need to sneeze there. I've really panicked.
I caught you out.
But not only with last night, but also just the general poor results we've had. It's sort of the carbon copy in terms of performance, where we are struggling to sort of create those chances. And it is frustrating because it is a very, very tight league. Okay, Hearts have got away a little bit up into third, and then there's obviously Celtic and Rangers. But sort of, if you look at the other teams, maybe with the exception with the bottom two, it is pretty close, and it wouldn't be unfeasible for like St Mirren to break into the top 6. And who's going to miss out right now? Potentially us.
Yeah.
When we're looking to kick on into Europe, the European spots, even if it is fourth, it's worrying. It's very worrying.
It is, and I suppose, Callum, you said that the games coming up were almost season defining over the next couple of weeks, and last night, if anything, kind of made me even more fearful of the Scottish Cup, given we're away from home and how generally shite we keep being anytime we travel on the road. It's not like even the performances are encouraging away from home either. But Lee Seymour in the comments asking, how much leeway are we willing to give Stephen Glass if we're calling this a transitional season? I mean, is this the case of we've got to look at the Scottish Cup as being the main hope of success, get Europe? Is this a big couple of weeks coming up for Stephen Glass?
I think so. I can't see him not being here next season, sort of regardless of what happens, because I really do think we wouldn't end up in a relegation scrap, given the way we seem to pick up a few good results now, and just sort of will probably keep us going throughout the season, sort of mid-table, if we don't end up doing better. I think we need, with the sort of signings he's made, I think regardless with how stale it went under the previous manager, no matter who came in, it would take time to sort of switch things around between the change in style, the turnover in squad, which we're probably looking at. I think it will take time, and he will be here probably next season, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely got the investment from the board that maybe has not been shown to previous management. And there's obviously a clear path in terms of investing in younger players, investing for the future. And that started with this signing of Vicente Bissauin from ADO Den Haag in the week, signed on a 4.5-year deal. We caught up with Jim van der Dijl, the ADO Den Haag commentator, to hear his thoughts on the new signing from ADO Den Haag.
Jim van der Dijl, welcome along to Red Tinted Glasses. Aberdeen today have announced the signing of Vicente Bissauin on a 4.5-year deal from ADO Den Haag. How excited can the Aberdeen fans be around this signing?
Bissauin is a really nice winger with a lot of actions and speed. He received his education at Ajax and AS Roma, and he made his professional debut at ADO Den Haag 2 seasons ago. In my opinion, he hadn't finished learning at ADO yet, but the troubled situation at the club right now and last season will contribute to this switch.
Vicente appeared 30 times for Den Haag last season, 25 this season in the Eredivisie, with ADO Den Haag getting relegated last season, but he scored 6 times and had 10 assists. Just how much has he been involved for Den Haag this season? Will he be a big loss for the team?
This season, I think he was a really important player for ADO Den Haag with his goals and assists. But remember, ADO have also players like Elciro Elia and Ricardo Kiesna on their wings. They were not available at the start of the season, so there were a lot of minutes for Bissauin. Last year, he had a harder time at the highest level.
The last player that we can remember Aberdeen signing from Den Haag was Jamie Smith, who obviously went on to be a bit of a cult hero for Aberdeen, scoring 2 important goals against Copenhagen. Aberdeen have been rumoured to beat off European and Scottish interest in the signing of Vicente. Are you aware of what other teams were sniffing around Vicente? And do you know if there's any transfer fee involved?
Yeah, I think there are always clubs who show some interest for Bissauin. Look at his resume. There are 2 big clubs like Ajax and AS Roma. So his education is good. And he's also a youth international player from the Netherlands. So that makes him an interesting player. In Holland, we heard some rumors about money Aberdeen has paid. And they told me like €400,000.
Vicente has been signed as a winger, noted to be predominantly a right winger. Can he also be comfortable playing on the left-hand side? Note he's also had some time playing up front as a striker as well. But where do you see his best position going forward?
His best position is on the right as a winger. He can also be dangerous on the left, but the right is, when you ask me, the best place. You can also use him as a striker, but I think he's not big and strong enough for the competition Aberdeen played. Another position he can play well is the position as shadow striker, but when you ask me, the best position is on the right.
It's also going to be handy if he's comfortable using both feet. Is he just predominantly right-footed, or is he comfortable on both his left and right foot?
No, I wouldn't call him fully left and right. His preference is for the right, but the wingers in the Netherlands learn to switch from sides, so he can play on the left, but his preference is right.
Scottish football is also seen as maybe a bit more physical than what Vicente might be used to over in Holland, where it's more technical, and maybe he's afforded a bit more time on the ball than what he'll get when he comes over to Aberdeen. How do you think he'll deal with the change in style?
Yeah, that's a really nice question. He is small in stature, but difficult to get off the ball. He is a little muscle boy. I think you still be surprised when you see him for the first time.
A little muscle boy there, Jim van der Dial, is describing our new signing. Thank you very much to Jim for his thoughts. An excellent work there, Callum, on editing the WhatsApp voice notes together there. Sorry if the quality didn't necessarily shine through, but we're living in these strange times that modern technology has for us. But some interesting thoughts from Jim overall, I thought there, Callum.
Certainly, I really did love him be called that little muscle boy. Fantastic. I'm going to be using that anytime he scores. Probably going to clip that up and just send that out. Little muscle boy. But I am excited. Obviously, we know he was on the books at Roma, Ajax as well. And I think it's in terms of looking at his data so far this season, haven't seen much of him, obviously. The clips that basically everyone's seen. But I am excited. It's just exciting signing. It's different. It's not someone from the lower leagues in England. He's obviously been featured for the youth teams going up, I think, until under 19 level for the Netherlands, which is obviously encouraging at a young age, a long contract, room to improve too. And it's just something different, and it's most importantly another forward option that we have. I'm looking forward to seeing how he does it. I don't expect him to be instant success. He has time to improve, and it will take time for him to obviously adapt to new country, new style of play, new players he's playing with. I know you mentioned Funso is not Dutch, Calm. I know that, Glenn, but he did play in Holland, so that would be hopefully it might help him settle in with the language. But given the video Vicente put out, helping us pronounce his name also seems to be with fine with the language. So hopefully that's another barrier that we won't have too much concern with. And football's a universal language, of course, as they always say.
Yeah. But I think as well the fact that Aberdeen have gone out and actually spent money, 400,000 euros, as Jim kind of alludes to there, says a lot about the fact that Aberdeen wanted to get him now. And I think last night, if anything, proves the need for him to be involved as soon as possible. And I suppose the fact that he's obviously played quite regularly for Den Haag this season means he should be relatively match fit and ready to go if called upon this weekend against St Johnstone.
Certainly, and I mean, I don't know how it would go just chucking him in against St Johnstone, but certainly wouldn't be against it, and also just be excited to see how he is. I think encouraging that Jim let us know that he can, play on both sides, also behind the shadow striker. Maybe he is sort of as a shadow striker. Sorry, maybe that's the sort of link we maybe do need in terms of someone in support of Ramirez, encouraging the fact he describes a little muscle boy, the physicality, he'll hopefully be okay. People surprised about his strength, only 5'7", but hopefully, the agility will be there, the speed, something that we need. Hopefully, a direct runner, that would be fantastic. And certainly after that game against St Mirren, something that I would love to see against St Johnstone.
Yeah. I mean, throwing him in against St Johnstone can't be any worse than what we've just witnessed from last night. And I think, kind of the agility, the pace maybe he brings just an Austin Samuels, but maybe an improved version with a bit more composure in front of goals and getting the ball into the box as well. And, the cynic in all of us, there are many. And Andrew Johnson in the comments is not the first person to mention this, or first person I've seen to mention this. Andrew, I hope you enjoyed the thoughts there of Jim on the new signing. But is there any fear that, given the fact he's South American, the Atlanta link is going to rear its head again, I suppose, with thoughts maybe turning to whether or not they might have their eye on him in the future. But I think maybe given the fact he plays for Holland internationally, he would be quite happy just to stay in Europe.
Yeah, I like to think that would be the case. I have surprisingly done my research. Born in Colombia, was adopted by a Dutch family at just 3 months. So there we go. There's just some extra information for you all on our Vicente. But I'd like to think that we won't see him at Atlanta, hopefully. And I would probably think he's maybe got his sights on better things. I think we have heard Stephen Glass say that this is sort of good for us in terms of getting a player who's going to develop, and then hopefully I think we can help him get on to the next stage of his career too, which is absolutely fine by me. As much as I love to see us keep quality players, if we can get someone like him in and hopefully further transfers too, it's a transfer fee, which sometimes we don't usually see Aberdeen spend, but relatively low in comparison. And when you consider the room he has to improve at such a young age, he'll play you'd like to think he'd play most weeks here, that will then only increase, and hopefully we can sell him on for a good fee, and that would be absolutely fine. And that allows you to then reinvest that in squads and hopefully further players like him.
Yeah, and I suppose on the signing of him as well, the immediate thought I had was that meant the end for Ryan Hedges, with all the talk coming around Blackburn Rovers, although Stephen Glass saying last night that there would be nothing in the way of a bid to take him away now, whether or not there is pre-contract talks going on in the background. But I don't know what you thought on his performance last night, if you thought his head's maybe elsewhere, but can't be bothered saying in the comments that maybe time to get rid of the likes of McLennan, Jet, Campbell, Ojo not good enough. As for Hedge, take the money on offer. But even on Bazawin, if he was to come in and Ryan Hedges was to still be here come the Ross County away on the 1st of February, if it's looking like Ryan Hedges is going to still be here, maybe it is time that Conor McLennan goes out on loan and gets a bit more regular minutes, because I think if Ryan Hedges is still here come February, I don't think he'll be here come the start of next season anyway. And I think Conor McLennan would be a player that would benefit from regular game time between now and the end of the season anyway.
Certainly, and Campbell had also just mentioned Mikey Johnstone as well. I think Glass did say they are looking to hopefully get someone else in. Obviously, we've seen him linked lately. If that's the case, or whether it's Mikey Johnstone or someone else in that attacking area, then I would like to see Conor McLennan, also Dean Campbell, go and play regularly somewhere for 6 months, and just get some regular football. That's what these players need, especially if they're getting to the age where they certainly need to be playing every week, whether it's here or elsewhere right now. That's obviously up for debate. Having mentioned Mikey Johnstone, just quickly, a player I would probably take if it was to be a permanent transfer, regardless whether it's a loan with an option or obligation to buy, whatever. He's also 22, still got room to improve. He's only been bit part at Celtic. A player who would be playing probably most weeks featuring for us, which can only be good for him, and certainly one I wouldn't be against if it was permanent and not just a loan with no option to buy or obligation, that is.
Yeah, I'm definitely not up for loaning Celtic players again. You know how badly that ended with Ryan Christie, the heartbreak that he caused us when he went back to Celtic after his loan spell. So definitely look to be a permanent. In terms of players going out, the only rumour that I've been made aware of is that Dundee are sniffing about a loan deal for Declan Gallagher, trying to get him in for the second half of the season. Obviously, he was involved in the matchday squad last night, didn't get on the pitch, but did play in the Scottish Cup. Again, interesting to see maybe after tonight's game for Dundee if there's any movement between now and the St Johnstone game of the weekend. Dundee eager to strengthen their defence as they bid to avoid the playoff spot or even go straight down. But the one player that has left Aberdeen and headed to Dens Park on a permanent deal is Niall McGinn, Callum. The end of the era again, I suppose, as Niall leaves Aberdeen for the second time.
I think it's the right time for Niall McGinn. He's not featuring for us. We are trying to turn to sort of players like Basal and Dante Polvara. These young players that are going to come in and be the future of our club. But regardless, still sort of sad to see him go, as you say, end of an era. It gave us a lot of very, very good memories, and certainly wish him all the best, apart from when he plays against us, of course. And but probably the best for him, I suppose, too. A move where you'd like to think not only will he be playing there regularly, but could still, at his age, be a star man for them.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it says a lot when you look at the sentiment on social media the last couple of nights, and just how much Niall McGinn meant to a lot of Aberdeen players. For guys our age, Callum has probably been the standout player over the last 10 years watching Aberdeen, maybe more so your age. Obviously, we've got a few more years on you.
Well,
But 358 appearances for the Dons, sitting 15th in the all-time appearance chart, and 87 goals, down in 19th on that chart, and 82 assists as well, ranked up in his career at Aberdeen. It's some impressive returns, and during that Craig Brown era, it was almost him single-handedly dragging us up the table at times with his goals and assists.
Well, yeah, certainly. And as we mentioned, it's given us some many great memories. Sticking out in my head immediately is the double he got against Hibs at Easter Road, which 2 unbelievable goals. And as you say, looking at the statistics, probably combining for providing over 150 goals. I mean, almost averaging goal contributions 1 every 2 games. It's a great return on a player who's served us very, very well. And you said, looking at the sentiments, I think it says a lot that he's sort of been seeking out tweets from Aberdeen fans, replying or leaving them a like, saying thank you. I think it shows a lot of sort of what he's meant to Aberdeen over the years, and what Aberdeen's meant to him, I suppose. Gave him a sort of a home after he left Celtic.
Yeah, absolutely. And, a frequent tormentor of the Edinburgh clubs during his time at Aberdeen, those goals against Hibs, as you alluded to, do stick out. Someone in our comments last night on Twitter said his hat-trick at Dens was a particular memory, even though I think it caused him a broken rib during the celebrations as well. So some
That's
lasting
commitment.
memories. Yeah, but I suppose that the biggest one is the goal at Tynecastle, where he leaves Augustine and Callum Patterson rooted to the spot before firing into the back of the net. And for those of us that were probably at Tynecastle that season in particular, the way we played that day, that 45-minute spell at Tynecastle, probably had a lot of us believing we would go on to win the league that season. At that moment in time, okay, it didn't pan out the way. He scored some cracking goals against his now suitor, now club Dundee, one where he takes it down on his knee and volleys home. And I think there was one that Luke0345, if you don't follow him on Twitter, check out his thread. We quoted it on Twitter, quoted a load of Niall McGinn goals. There's one where he picks up the ball inside his own half. It's a really muddy pitch, and he drives to the edge of the box and fires low into the bottom corner. A goal I'd forgotten about, but you just forget the quality that he possessed, and even the amount of free kick goals he also scored as well. A bit of a dead ball specialist in his time as well. Obviously going on to win the League Cup as well with Aberdeen as well. He maybe feels disappointed it was only the one trophy he's leaving Aberdeen with, but I suppose a lot of the players that maybe have spent their time during that same period as Niall McGinn will also probably kind of share that sentiment at only having won one trophy.
Certainly, but I suppose at least we'll always have that a memory I treasure. I'm sure many an Aberdeen fan do too, especially those of us who haven't been around for the glory days, you could say. The one person I do feel for, however, Mr. Johnny Hayes. His pal's gone. I mean, we saw obviously Hayes left, and then there was him, Rooney, and McGinn, who struck up a great partnership on the park. Those three. It'll be interesting. Who will the next Hayes, Rooney, and McGinn be for Aberdeen? We need something like that now.
Yeah, badly. And Elise Moore asking, will he not get a testimonial now? I suppose that'll be something that'll be interesting to see over the coming weeks, if anything of that manner is announced. So certainly something to keep an eye on. But Callum, one thing we've not yet done, and it's time's flying by on this episode, we've had a lot to discuss and digest, is the upcoming game against St Johnstone this weekend, an important game. And Callum, I think we're both in full agreement. A reaction is very much needed to last night.
100%. Really not looking forward to the game against St Johnstone. Anytime they come up here, they always make it extremely difficult for us, and I dislike them for that. But regardless, we need to get out and react, play our own game, play the way we can, especially at home, obviously, and ultimately get that result. Regardless, though, if we do get a win off Ruminer's backside, take it. Absolutely don't care, but I am looking for a response to come out flying and hopefully get the job done, get another much needed 3 points.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we'll obviously be back probably Monday evening with our next episode on YouTube and audio, wherever you're tuning in. Remember to hit that subscribe button, leave a like and your comment on your thoughts. And Callum, going into this game, we've got both Johnny Hayes, whether he's fit enough to return on Saturday, hopefully he is, but also Scott Brown, a booking away from a suspension. Now, it would be the same sort of suspension that Ross McCrory received, where it kind of kicks in after a couple of games. So the cynic in me around Scott Brown says that if he was to be booked on Saturday, he would go on to miss the Celtic game. Is that just me being coincidental, or am I reading too much into that?
Possibly, but the 2 games he's come off with a little bit of cramp, both against Celtic. I mean, just put it out there. Just put it out there. Regardless of who it's against, given the way things are, things we have seen things go and how important they are. I hope they don't get booked anytime soon. That would be fantastic. We do need them in there. It would be interesting, I suppose, if Brown does miss out, to then see sort of if Ferguson does step up, take that onus on him more. Does Connor Barron come in? Will Dante Polvara exist? Who knows?
And you're still forgetting about Dylan McGee as well.
Well, he's back fit, I suppose, as well. Unfortunately, I think he's another player that, as much as I like him, he's a great player. He probably needs to go at some point. Just because we can't. He's probably on a decent wage, and we need someone who's going to be fit, and that makes me sad because I do like him. Yeah,
I think he's a bit of an underrated player, as I've said countless times on this show. But do you think we will see maybe a couple of changes to the side on come Saturday? Maybe we might not have the likes of Ryan Hedges and Calvin Ramsey. We don't know if Johnny Hayes is going to be fit enough, but do we maybe need to freshen that team up a little bit going into this weekend's game?
Possibly. As much as we've cried out for consistency and runs like this where it's midweek games all the time, you do need to freshen things up and switch things up. But also, freshening things up after that performance against St Mirren is not a bad thing at all. Whoever comes in, I would like to see a boy Vicente. Not pinning all my hopes on him or anything, but just be exciting to see him. But also, I mean, would someone like Conor McLennan come in, or Matty Kennedy who's been involved? Something just a little bit different, a little bit of fresh legs in there, given the run of fixtures and the lack of rotation, I suppose.
Yeah, and the thing is, at the end of the day, we've got 5 subs as well. So, if he wants to keep the strongest 11, I suppose is what you could argue we've been putting out. Start them, but look, Stephen, remember you've got 5 subs to make. You can use that full allocation. But look, obviously we're doing this episode just now Wednesday lunchtime before St Johnstone have played their game against Dundee tonight. St Johnstone could possibly be coming to Pittodrie 5 points adrift at the bottom of the table, but as you said, I never look forward to games against St Johnstone, regardless if they're at Pittodrie or Perth. They're a horrible opponent to face. The games are normally terrible, close counters. They're probably the one opponent we would probably least like to face after a performance like that last night.
Which is weird to say, but then if it's a tougher team, then like Hearts, Rangers, Celtic, then you see them sort of raise their game in those kind of ties. Whereas this is one, it's someone, I don't know what they think. They'll look at St Johnstone, bottom of the league, and I don't know, they might go in slightly complacent. But regardless, St Johnstone always come up here, make it very, very difficult. Often they come away with the 3 points, having sat in, frustrated us, nicked a goal, and fair play to them. They do that. They do it quite well against us, specifically, it would seem. But we need to look out and come out on the front foot, and regardless of how much St Johnstone sit in, the niggly fouls and try and break up the play, we need to come out at them with a high tempo, a high press when they're on the ball, and just get at them, because we need a massive, massive reaction after that results and performance versus their fellow Saints.
Yeah, and we struggled to break down the Paisley Saints when they sat in last night, and I definitely suspect the Perth Saints will do very much the same. This weekend, Stevie May coming back to haunt us. Last time, he's still their top goal scorer with just 2 goals. They've added Nadir Chifchi to their attack as well.
I forgot about that.
Another former player of Dundee United that caused us loads of problems as well in games gone by. It's just going to be one of those days, I think, on Saturday. But I'm sure, as they were against Edinburgh City last weekend, the Red Shed will be in fine voice, providing at least a vocal backing to the team. And hopefully we can see another positive performance on the pitch this time, getting us back on track with what would be seen as a much-needed 3 points after last night, Callum.
Certainly, we'll keep our fingers crossed. I got really excited when you reminded me about Nadir Chifchi there. It'll be fun one way or another. It'll be interesting to see how he plays. He's a bastard. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he tends to be quite good at it. Obviously in a struggling St Johnstone side, that'll be very, very, very interesting. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and I suppose, as I said, we're obviously recording this before St Johnstone play. You never know. They could be coming up here without a manager come Saturday, depending how tonight goes. And again, how that then goes on to influence the game, we don't know. But hopefully, Callum, when we reconvene Sunday evening to have a quick chat after the game on Saturday and look ahead to the next midweek's visit to Dingwall, we've got something a bit more positive to speak about, because there's been a lot of ranting, a lot of frustration on today's live. But as always, to those of you that have been joining us, whether it's been on Facebook, YouTube, our Twitter account at @RTG_podcast, we hope you've enjoyed another live episode. If you have done, please make sure to like the video, hit that subscribe over on our YouTube channel. And we really do appreciate all the support that has been shown to us. So a lot of you have subscribed over the last few weeks. It really does mean a lot to us, know that you're enjoying the content. And like Ross did, if there is stuff you want us to discuss on this show, leave us that comment, or slide into the DMs on Twitter, which is at @RTG_podcast, or on Instagram, RTG.podcast. But thank you very much. Until next time.
Thank you.